Now, I'm putting this in at the beginning of the video, since I just got done recording. This series is going to be getting very dark. And for those of you who are a bit lighthearted at this stuff, please turn away. I understand the series might look interesting or something like that, but if you are sensitive to that type of information or things like that, if it hits a little too close to home, I understand. So please do click off the video if you think you will need to. Now then, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and cue the intro.
To play, there's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kira's show here. Now, sorry for posting this later on in my day, but it's been a bit loud in my house. And before I do begin, yes, Deku will be directly after this one, so for those of you who keep asking, please stop. Now, along with that, for those of you who are confused on exactly what an Ultraviolet Lantern is, it is one of the Green Lantern Corps, who wield the light spectrum. However, this one corp is on the ultraviolet light spectrum, so it is unseen. Now, they are also considered to be very strong and powerful, since, from what I searched into it, or looked into it, they can contend with some of DC's heavy hitters. Now, along with that, for those of you who are curious about this, Sinestro discovered the unseen light, and forced the Green Lantern in this picture to be an Ultraviolet Lantern. I forgot this one's name. I believe it's, no, that's not the right name. Anyways, I'll think about it later, but yeah. Now, these lanterns, they thrive off of carnage, destruction, and death. Basically, if a world is war-torn and on the brink of destruction, they will be drawn towards it, engulfing and taking on every single person of that planet into its ranks, making them the biggest Lantern Corps to date. Now, with that being said, let us begin. Let us start with someone. They are at the end of their journey, and their life has been very difficult. As they look at the alien sky and wonder exactly how they get here. Sitting on this beach, the ocean's made of acid and everything feeling odd. As they think back on the past, wondering how the story started. From what they recall, it went something like this. We will open with Izuku Midoriya, a young boy who admires and loves heroes. He studies them and he actually thinks that they are very neat. Actually watching the latest clip of exactly what's going on with Superman, and finding it to be fascinating. Since Superman does intervene in a bit of an odd scenario, actually meeting All Might for the first time. And the video would end with these two shaking hands and parting ways. Finding that to be really interesting, along with the lanterns. From what he heard, their quirks or their power is very different. But they're still interesting. Then you have Wonder Woman, the Flash, Cyborg. They're all amazing. I wonder what his quirk is going to be. Now, Izuku Midoriya. He would go to the quirk doctor and find that he is quirkless. And things would be very devastating for him. Him dropping his Superman figure and actually having his mom bend down and pick it up. Her just asking exactly what does that mean then, if he's going to be quirkless. Him just explaining that quirkless people, they are, well, yikes. They're kind of not rare anymore. So it's hard to believe this, actually. Your son, he won't have a power. But that doesn't mean that he can't test for the metahuman gene. Then again, if he is a metahuman, he will have to go to a specialized institution and a school. So even if he does have it, then that will just be a lot trickier. Him just explaining himself more. As Midori would have headed home, a bit sad and disappointed by that. Midoriya, he would begin a bit of a rough start to his journey. Apparently a little bit more time needs to pass before he can be checked for the metahuman gene. So, yeah. While that's happening, he would be in his room, watching more and more videos of other heroes, along with actually watching an interview with the Justice League, where he does see Jon Stewart, that's his name. That's who's in the picture, okay. Sorry, that finally crossed my mind. Now, he would see Jon Stewart's and the other lanterns. People actually asking exactly what are their quirks. To which some of them would just state that they are quirkless. In fact, their powers come from the ring. They are part of the Green Lanterns. They are the police sector of 2814. I believe that's the sector for Earth. Now, Midori hearing this would be a bit surprised, watching as one of them does fly away, and things would be getting a bit more weird. Midoriya actually turning around and his mom opening the door. Midoriya just pointing at the screen, asking his mom if he can't be if he doesn't have a quirk, can he still be a hero? His mom rushing over and hugging him, saying that she's so sorry, and that she wishes she can give him a quirk. She really wishes she can, but it's just not possible. Now, along with that, Midoriya would just ask his mom if he can be a metahuman then, or even a Green Lantern. Anything. Anything to have a power. His mom not too sure. Her just saying that the Green Lanterns have willpower. She knows that, but, Izuku, you don't. Her just biting her tongue. She doesn't want to call her son a coward, since she knows that he always did want to be a hero. Her just basically walking out of the room. Now, over at school the next day, things would be a bit weird. People showing off some of their quirks, along with some actually some of them actually unlocking their metahuman gene. Deku seeing some that have ice, fire, other things. Very, very powerful things. As they are being told that they are going to be transferring to a new school. And that they are being, the paperwork is being written up. Some actually showing things off, as they do ask Midoriya exactly what is his power. Midoriya basically just saying that he doesn't have one. Wait, so you're a metahuman? I'm not too sure about that either. People kind of surprised. So Midoriya won't have a quirk, so he'll have a metahuman gene. Since you can't really have both, can you? That is a bit odd. Now, with that being said, this is whenever Balko would just be showing off his quirk, saying that he doesn't care if he isn't a metahuman. And that just means that he'll just be the strongest hero he can be. Just like Superman. He's the strongest in the world. Along with someone actually bringing up that Batman is better. Bakugo having a fight with this person. Now, with that being said, Batman does not announce that he is quirkless, or even powerless in this timeline, or even universe. People just think he has, well, super strength and super speed. Now, Midoriya, he is at least thinking about this, saying that he just wants to be like one of those heroes. Now, Midoriya would have headed home, and his mom, she would be talking on the phone. Midoriya walking in and actually hearing her ask questions to the doctor, as Midoriya would hear the following conversation. Are you sure? He doesn't have either of them? Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. It appears that your son, well, he's a dying breed, actually. What do you mean, dying breed? Well, you see, after the metahumans started awakening and this started happening, quirks and these abilities had a bit of a struggle coexisting. Eventually, things were solved out, and the quirkless population, which used to be around 30 to 20%, slowly started going down. That is why your son is rare. Only one in every 200 to 300 people have a probability of being quirkless or non-metahumans, let alone not have any powers in general. It's quite fascinating. In fact, I believe we might be able to learn something from doing more tests on him. Her just being annoyed and screaming at the doctor, telling him that her son is not a lab rat and that he cannot do that, before just throwing the phone. It's smashing into the wall and her son beginning to cry. Midoriya actually walking in and checking on his mom. Her wiping away her tears and telling Izuku that she's gonna be fine. She just, well, hurt herself a little bit whenever she was cooking. Her making up a bit of an excuse. Something that sounds convincing at least, like she cut her finger or she was just chopping onions. Now, Midoriya would have just walked away. And to understand exactly what that means. He doesn't have certain, well, traits, right? But, him wanting to look online, seeing more and more things. You have heroes that don't have powers like, what is it, Cyborg? His only power is robotics, or whatever that thing around his skin is. And you do have Wonder Woman. She's just an Amazon. They're very powerful anyways. And the Flash, who is a metahuman himself. Created whenever dark matter. Yeah, that was a bit of a clusterfuck. Now, with that being said, Midoriya is at least thinking about this. The Green Lanterns, they just overcome fear, right? So, I just need to be courageous. I need to be fearless. That is what he's thinking. Now, with that being said, Midoriya would just be in this mindset. A bit distraught about being powerless, yes, but at least trying to keep his eyes on his goal. Trying to be a hero. And things being a bit more tough. Him getting bullied by the fact that he doesn't have a quirk or this genome. Now, with that being said, this is whenever things would just start spiraling downwards from Midoriya. Instead of his mom getting into her other habits that she does in canon, they wouldn't work, so she would switch to something a bit more stronger. Something to numb the pain, if I can say it correctly. Now, with that being said, with her basically doing that, that leaves Midoriya alone sometimes. Him coming home from school and seeing his mom passed out, having to pick up the bottles and throw them away. He doesn't understand why she's doing this to herself, and it's a bit odd. She feels like she's partially to blame for all this. Then again, she can't really control what happens. To Izuku, as he'd be getting bullied more and more throughout school. One day, whenever he is actually in class, people will just begin to throw stuff at him, and the teachers didn't really care. Along with that, anytime he does try and stand up for himself, people either laugh at him or shrug him off, using their own abilities and taking him down and hurting him. The school doesn't really care, along with the fact that they can never get a hold of his mom whenever it is something serious. And over the years, Midoriya would be finding himself to lose it a little bit. He doesn't have many friends, and he doesn't have many people to even talk to or look after him. Him trying to struggle away this idea and wanting to train. If he's going to be a lantern or a green lantern, then he needs to make sure that he can do exactly what he saw on the internet. Overcome great fear. Do what you can. And try and be the best version he can be of himself. Him someone just mumbling the Green Lantern oath. And finding it to be a bit interesting. Beware my power, Green Lantern's light. Those words ring so clearly in his head. Now, over the next couple of years, things will just be getting worse and worse for Midoriya. At the age of 10, whenever he does have his hero journals, people just begin to tear them apart and mess with him more, putting him down to the fact that he can never be a hero. He is just some Quirkless wannabe. He thinks that just because he follows those simple little instructions he talks about in his head, that he will be someone. But he won't. All he'll be is someone Quirkless, and one day he might just die in the carnage of a battle. That is it. You're nothing more but an object standing in the way, a civilian. A casualty waiting to happen, as Baku once called him. Midoriya getting annoyed and actually trying to fight back today, as Bakugo and everyone else would have kicked his ass. One of the teachers actually seeing the situation. While Bakugo and these kids are beating into Midoriya, Midoriya actually would have seen a teacher, and try to at least ask them for help, as he does actually push a kid off of him. The teacher just looking at the situation as he would just turn away, taking another sip from his coffee. Midoriya seeing that and being able to get onto his feet, being able to punch into and actually hit Bakugo with a pretty solid hand, somewhat actually getting him to step backwards, wiping away his mouth as he would basically just bring up his hand throwing an explosion, sending Midoriya flying backwards into a wall. Him falling onto the ground and actually being told by them that if he does anything like that again, then they will use their quirks more, and their abilities. As one kid actually just walk over and get a stick, being to beat into and hurt Midoriya more with it. Eventually the teachers would have broken it up, only until it started to get to the point where they were leaving lasting damage. That is something they don't want to hear about from Midoriya's mother. Then again, well, Lee doesn't even contact them, let alone look after her son. They know the situation he has at home. His mom's a crippling alcoholic, while his dad works overseas. Unaware that sometimes the money he has to send them for rent, as Inko calls it, isn't for rent. It's because sometimes she just stopped paying the bill. Now, along with that, Midoriya actually would have been a bit more angry today. But he would just try and keep his motto. He needs to work harder, try and train. Doing stuff like that. Him getting up and just limping home. getting an ice pack from the freezer and trying to at least, well, heal and stop the swelling from his body. Beginning to train more until, well, one day where he would have actually found something odd. Whenever he's in his room and training, he is at least messing around with something. And whenever he does so, he is just watching. He's writing something down as he just begins to draw more and more on a thin sheet of paper, trying to at least figure out exactly what type of outfit he wants and how to create light constructs. Looking at more and more things and thinking that he could just be, well, fairly easily, right? As a hero battle would be going on outside. Him running out to see someone that he hasn't seen in forever. Another hero. It's a bit surprising actually. Apparently the Flash is running by and battling his rogues gallery. Midoriya barely being able to see him because he just sees a red streak in electricity run past his apartments. As he's battling against Mr. Freeze and his rogues gallery. Along with that one person who does have that mirror technology. Midoriya actually finding that really interesting. And watching this happen. Now, whenever that does happen, he would run downstairs and run to see the battle. Quite a lot of people are being gathered and held back by cops, as these events would be considered to be amazing. Midoriya barely being able to watch, as when he does get there, the Flash basically already took care of things. I guess he really is the fastest man alive. Now, Midoriya would just watch as everyone begins to leave. Him being a bit bummed out that he didn't get to see or even take notes about this. As he basically does step on something. He bends down and picks up a piece of glass. And just stares at it. He thinks it's weird, but at least it's very interesting. He can keep it as a bit of a souvenir. Besides, not much really to do without the lights on. Him heading home. And at least messing around with it a bit. This is odd to him. Messing around and moving around the piece in his hands. As he actually does go to set it down. Whenever he does so, he accidentally presses downwards, accidentally cutting his hand open, and shaking it off. Thinking that hurt a bit, but that was a bit odd. Him just picking it up again and actually, well, holding the blade against one of his wrists. And thinking, why did that feel relieving? Why did that... No. Him just sitting down the blade and putting it in his drawer, slamming it closed, and going back to some of his research. He needs to make sure he gets this right. If he doesn't, then he won't be a Green Lantern. Come on. Just do your research, and then you can figure this out. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I will catch you guys in the next part.